morning, we are again acknowledging the season of creation, the time that we remind ourselves that each of us has a responsibility to God's created order, our home planet, planet Earth. But sadly, I don't think it's getting any better. We know it isn't getting any better. Recently, scientists are observing changes in the Earth's climate in every region of our planet and across the whole of every climate system. This was according to the latest Intergovernmental Panel report on climate change that was released just this past August the 9th. Many of these changes observed, the report said, in the climate are unprecedented in thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of years. And some of the changes already set in motion, such as continued sea level rise, are irreversible over hundreds, again, if not thousands of years. It is on a scale that is becoming overwhelming. And we are, I think, sadly, becoming numb to it and the implications of these changes. And as we often do, we say, you know, what can I do? What can we do? It is just such a large issue. Well, the ocean started one drop at a time. And today we're going to just focus a little of our attention on what we here at Incarnation are doing, one drop at a time, to assist in mitigation of climate change in our own small way. First of all, I want you to notice that over my shoulder, this dense forest, that is a dense forest of what I think you know is called buckthorn. Buckthorn is an invasive species to the area. It is detrimental to bird life. It is detrimental to any other vegetation. It chokes the life out of indigenous plants and trees, and it takes over everything. And over the last 5 years, we have been waging the war on buckthorn. And I think we've had some success, because as you can see behind me now, this area used to be clogged like the area you just saw with buckthorn. Little by little, we are winning this battle so that we can plant more indigenous plants and trees and shrubs, as well as to ensure that the health and well-being of the trees on our property and the bird life thrive. And I think we're succeeding at that level. The second thing that we've been doing is important, something recent, is something called participating in Depaving Paradise. Depaving Paradise is taking areas of asphalt and paved areas that are no longer used and restoring them to natural harmony of nature. So a few weeks back, a large group of volunteers and members of our community and other communities, Halton Environmental Network and Oakville Green and others in our own parish, worked diligently on a Saturday to depave the unused piece of driveway that we are no longer using. And why is Depaving Paradise important? What does depaving accomplish? Depaving removes unused asphalt and replaces it with indigenous plants, trees, and shrubs. It restores the water cycle. It protects water quality. It builds community ownership and involvement, and it creates new habitat. It beautifies the neighborhood, and it creates gathering space and access to nature. This is the outcome of our depaving project. I wish to thank all of the volunteers that participated in this event 2 weeks ago. It was a rainy day, as it's starting to rain now, but we are going to continue with the evolution of the space by a planting day on the 25th of September. If you're able to join us on that day, I'd invite you to call us or to show up and to help us restore this beautiful landscape to the way that Mother Earth would have it. So I'll send it back to the in-person worship time now.
I stepped in a puddle. So those are two of many things that we have done. Obviously, many of you are aware of the efforts around geothermal 5 years ago, the time and effort that went into that. We are a carbon-free building now, and all of these efforts, which Mac was the head of Battle of Buckthorn and the geothermal, took effort, time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears, resources, commitment, and changing the way we think. Changing the way we think. And this has been the challenge for many of us, I think. I want to relate it, first of all, to what we heard in the Gospel of Mark this morning. Because in the Gospel of Mark this morning, we hear what is referred to as Peter's confession. Peter's confession is chapter 8, and prior to Jesus going to Caesarea Philippi with his disciples, he had been on a mission, a campaign. It was almost like a crusade up to this point. Up to this point, moving around with his disciples, he was healing people. He healed the hearing ability of a woman. He gave sight to a blind man. He raised the dead. He fed 5,000. He fed another 4,000. And at the end of the feeding of the 4,000, he said to his disciples, "Do you still not understand?" And then on, as he chose to move to Caesarea Philippi, he said to his disciples, "By the way, who do people say I am?" After all of this, who do people say that I am? Jesus asked. And they answered, "Well, they think Elijah, Moses, perhaps the prophets." Okay. Now, who do you say that I am? And of course, Peter puffed out his chest. "You are the Messiah," Peter said. Good answer, Peter. Then Jesus went on to say, the Messiah must undergo suffering, be rejected by the elders and the chief priests and the scribes. He must then suffer, be killed, and on the third day he will rise again. Peter went, "What?" He took him aside and said, "Jesus, no, that can't be." He rebuked Jesus. He rebuked him. I think Peter is not sort of unlike me, and I think maybe some of you, is that we want to follow one who can solve all of our ills, to solve the problems we have, to heal us and to comfort us and to embrace us and to take power away from those who abuse it, et cetera, et cetera. And that is not the Messiah that Jesus said he was going to be. And Peter could not accept that. And Jesus said to him, "Peter, after all this time, get behind me, Satan." Like, don't you get it? Honestly? Don't you understand that if you want to be a follower of mine, you have to pick up your cross? You have to begin to live life differently. You must experience the same kind of suffering. And how that relates to me for what we are acknowledging in this season of creation is that we all, like Peter, understand. We get this. We know what's going on. We recognize and say, yes, climate change is an issue. The environment is at risk. But we still want to live our lives with the expectations that we have for our lives and our families' lives. We want things to just sort of remain as they are. We want to continue to be able to do what we want, go where we want, when we want, buy what we want, consume what we want, whenever we want. But like Peter, we are going to have Jesus rebuke us and say, it's going to take more than that, because you are going to have to pick up your cross in order for this global issue, this gift of a planet in which we reside. It is going to take us to pick up our cross and to follow the God of all creation. And that means we are going to need to change the way we live, adapt our behaviors, change the way we consume, acknowledge and speak truth to power, be proactive in understanding that it will cost each and every one of us something to ensure that our planet survives for our children, our grandchildren, and generations to come. The status quo is not an option. You know, and as Jesus said in the gospel, he said, what will it profit from them to gain the whole world and forfeit their life? Yeah, we gain the whole world by just going about our business, doing our thing. But at the end result will be forfeit our life and the life of this planet. So we have to deny ourselves and make decisions and choices. I'm going to give you a simple little one that, this is a silly one, but one that bugs me. Thank you to Susan, I've bought those recyclable containers that you can put vegetables in. Remember 2 years ago we were selling them or whatever we did? So I bought a few of those. 9 times out of 10, I go toddling off to the grocery store and I get there and I've left those bags at home. I love blueberries. I buy blueberries every single week. And every time I toddle off to the grocery store without the bags, how do I buy my blueberries? In a single-use plastic container. Those stupid little squishy things. I gotta get with it. Like, this is a silly little example. And we can accentuate that and exaggerate that in terms of the kinds of choices and decisions we make. But those are the things we need to do. I need to remember to bring those darn bags every single time so that I can take my plastic container, dump them in the bag, walk to the cash, hand it to the cashier and say, give this to your manager. We need to deny ourselves in small, seemingly insignificant little ways. And we need to deny ourselves in bigger and more profound decisions that we make every day. In order for us to save our planet, we need to learn to deny ourselves, take up our cross, and follow the way of Jesus. Thanks be to God. Amen.